All right, everyone, I hope everybody is refueled, refreshed, and I hope you had the time to network with each other. I can understand that pre and post lunch sessions are the most difficult ones to attend, but we'll try to have the utmost attention to the session that are going to be in front of you. So everyone, can I have everybody's attention, please? Are you listening to me? Please raise your hands if you're listening to me. Am I audible? I'm audible, yes? Okay. Let's energize and let us bring in the energy back. So what we're going to do is both hands in the air and give a nice stretch. Everyone, both hands in the air. Give a nice stretch. A nice stretch, yes. Now that hands are in the air, give a huge round of applause to yourselves. Yes. I didn't feel the energy, to be honest. I couldn't feel the energy. And the people in the front, I believe they agreed with me. Everyone, can we do that again? Give a nice stretch. And a huge round of applause. Let's have the energy back into the room. All right, thank you everyone for being an amazing audience. We are moving to the panel discussion number 3. The topic is going to be diversity, equity, and inclusion. Beyond compliance to true transformation. And the moderator for this session will be Mr. Anil Tyagi, Director, HR, Kusum Group of Companies. Let me give a small brief about the moderator. Mr. Anil Tyagi is a dynamic HR leader with a proven track record of driving strategies as an HR initiatives and building high-performance teams that elevate employee engagement and contribute meaningfully to the organizational growth. His journey began with a distinguished career in the Indian Air Force, where he led over 150 technically qualified personnel in strategic planning and operations. After more than 15 impactful years in the armed forces, he transitioned into the corporate world, driven by a deep passion for people and a commitment to advancing human capital. And the panel members for this session will be Ms. Anupriya Jain, Chief of Staff, Lenskart, followed by Ms. Shweta Sharma, Head of Learning and Development, Shubham Housing Development Finance Company, followed by Ms. Rini Ajit, Head Human Resources, Eco Mobility, followed by Mr. Rajiv Kumar, VP and Head of Human Resources, Detrix, and last but not least, Ms. Kiran Chehel, Head of HR, Collective Newsroom. With this, everyone, can we have the entire panel on the dais, please? With the energy back into the room. Everyone, yes. Let's wake up. Let's bring in the energy. And let's focus because the entire session will be insightful, knowledgeable, and we have such experts present between us who are here to share their experiences, their tips and tricks, their knowledge with us today. With this, over to them, and let's kickstart the second half of the day. Thank you so much, everyone.
So, very good afternoon, and thank you, ma'am, for a wonderful introduction. So, I think she has made my job easier, stretching. So, any session after lunch is actually difficult. We'll try to make it impactful and engaging. So, thank you, panelists. And I think, as you know, the topic, diversity, equity, inclusion beyond compliances and true transformation. So, I think today it is very, very important that diversity is not only just a word to say or do certain compliances in the organization. What we believe that it has to be an essential component in any organizational culture, so drive. So what we will do today, we will see the practices, policy, process, what is being done by these thoughtful leaders with me, and we will delve into it. The important part, what I feel basically, diversity and equity is when an employee feel valued and empowered in an organization. Inclusiveness, when an employee feel like that he has been included, inclusive in any decisions kind of. And that important part is that you know, how do you create a diverse yet inclusive culture, and equitable culture so that you can lead to the employee satisfaction, but same times organizational performance. So always it is a balance between employee satisfaction and organizational performance. So with this, we will start and we will try to do certain things on this. So first is I will start with Anupriya. How can organization move beyond formative DI initiatives to drive real cultural changes? And that's what this topic about, Anupriya. Yeah.
Yeah, right on the bat, sir. Thank you. I'm the opening batswoman. Great. No, so I've actually done a lot of work on culture over the last few years. And I think when I was thinking about this question as well, right? Honestly, when we say that there's a lot of performative initiatives happening, I say we take it all, right? At least something is happening. But I think going beyond that, if I think about culture, what is culture, right? It's not some of those bigger things in DEI that we talk about. It really is the smaller rituals, the smaller behaviors that you come across when you're in meetings with your colleagues, what's happening in the organization, how you make decisions, how you talk to each other. And so I think, at least in the way that I have seen it developing, I love that there's a lot of DEI work that's happening to say, look, these are the communities that never got the representation, never got inclusivity, never had a voice. And let's look at how do we make them more representative in the organization. I think we are now at a point, fairly 2025, to get to a point where we say, let's go backward from their lives, right? Let's dissect every single thing that they go through at work and how can we solve for it. And I'll give you a quick example so it's not very esoteric in your head. I was working with this client earlier when I was in consulting, and there was a founder who used to, so it's a startup, and there was a founder that used to do the pricing call at 8 in the evening, right? And a lot of people who consulted with them said, look, 9 to 6, this, that, the other. And he said, look, startups don't work like that. All of our employees are comfortable joining calls at 8 o'clock. So why do you have to tell me that I have to stick to 9 to 6? And he said, great, yes, of course. We understand. Every organization has a different culture, different rituals. You cannot put a label and say this is how it needs to be done. But when we started interacting with their leadership, we realized there were two people who could just never be part of that pricing call. And when we actually spoke to them and said, why not? Well, they said, we don't have any boundaries per se, but at 8, I have to spend time with my kids. And this is not just a woman, by the way. There was a man, there was a father and mother separate. And they wanted to spend time with their kids. So they would be there for all meetings otherwise. But that 8 p.m. pricing meeting, when I was there, I could just never get their inputs. And I thought that is where the organization is missing out, right? That is one tiny example. Imagine the number of meetings that are happening across your organization at timings that particularly just don't work for that particular community. That is culture, right? Of making sure some of these rituals are able to adapt to the lives of people that we don't really see unless we actually go very deep into the organization. This is beyond Excels. Till you actually go and speak to people and realize how their lives are built around work and how do you do that. There's another very interesting example. I remember when we used to work at Google, I had a colleague who was actually a stealth musician. So he used to have gigs Saturday and Sunday. And Saturday morning, sometimes he used to have these huddles with the US team. And he would just never be able to join because he was doing live gigs till 9 p.m. on a Friday, right? And so he would never be able to join those calls on Saturday. And we never got his inputs on those calls. And these are very, very valuable inputs. So I think that's how we need to think about culture, beyond some of those bigger structures to these smaller rituals, smaller things that happen every day.
I think very well said, Anupriya, that understanding that your organizational's requirement, doing small and incremental cultural changes, then can help. Probably the example which he has given, creating a flexible work timings, maybe even for few people, rarest and the rare cases. So to take it further, Rini, I would like you to add certain more insights and give some examples from your organization and from your experiences.
Thank you, Anil. So I come from the segment where the workforce, especially the drivers, usually help you reach your workplace every day. So the DEI concept or the conversation is completely different for me. White collar employees are still adapting, embracing this DEI. And as you all know, white collar is approx 20%, 20 to 25% of the complete India workforce, right? And I am talking about blue collar, with whom we usually, deal with every day. They are the face of our organization. So for them, DEI is a completely different level. To be very honest, there are people who still resist in the industry, and it's very difficult. It's not an easy journey for us. However, we are, we have already started with the inclusive hiring, as well as trainings, everything, and people are adapting. However, it is slow, and we are hopeful, especially from the clients, who support us in accepting this inclusion. They are the hope, basically, for us to run this DEI. So it's a long journey for us, but then it's definitely going to work out.
Okay, thank you, Rini. I think you picked very rightly white collar 20-25% and then blue collar. And what about the DEI for them? With my own experiences, whenever I go to my plant or factories, I try to make it that I have lunch with the blue collar people. So that is a little time when I go and sit with them, and few of them talk to me. And that's why I feel that it's a very small incremental, as Anupriya was telling, the inclusiveness. I think this is small, small things if we do, that actually helps. So now on the same topic, Kiran, if you add some more perspective on this.
Sure. Thank you, Anil. I think Anupriya and Shweta both have hit the right nerve of DEI. And I agree with Anupriya that now we are quite matured in DEI. A few years ago, that was a buzzword that every company was talking about. They were doing initiatives. And at that point of time, I think performative actions were required because we wanted to show people that, yes, people from all kind of backgrounds are welcome in our organization. But this is the time now that we have to move on and we have to do some strategic changes. Are we bringing the real systematic changes in the organization? And for me, I think, what we have done, and I think every organization, if they want to bring the real change, they have to do is, they have to, include some measurable KPIs at board or CEO level, right? So when your top leadership have something in their KPIs that they have to achieve in terms of diversity, equity and inclusion, then only you will be able to make it happen. We did that. So in our company, my collective newsroom, we are the sole publisher and content provider for BBC News. So for us, diversity matters in content as well as in the organization. So it is a part of the business strategy. We cannot run it without having diversity in our content or in our organization. So that is something we instilled. I think another thing for DEI initiatives to be successful is leadership development. Is your leadership inclusive? Are your leaders empathetic enough? Are they informative enough? Do they know how to deal with somebody who is a bipolar? Do they know how to handle somebody who is having ADHD? Are we training our managers to make it a psychologically safe or inclusive place? So these all go hand in hand. Are your people practices aligning with your DEI principles? Do you provide enough flexibility to somebody who is a single parent, single mother, single father? What are you doing about it? Just having those policies, standard policies that we have since ages, that's not going to happen, right? So you have to rethink, relook at your policies and see, does it align with the all spectrum of diversity that I want to include in our strategy?
Right. I think a very nice point you have brought, Kiran. Moving from operational to strategic changes and creating a measurable KPI. I think that's very important. Even if you take one initiative, have the metrics for it. That's what you can show to your in board and to your to the senior leadership. And the most important topic which you have talked about is First of all, as a HR, we embrace this DEI not only in talking but in content and in practice. And secondly, how do you train your leadership for that? I think that's a very important point you brought in. Thank you. Please, Rajiv, if you want to add something.
I think my colleagues.
Pardon me? I think if we'll keep 10 minutes for it and then you can share, please park it, otherwise that flow will go. Excuse me.
Okay. So I think my colleagues Anupriya, Rini and Kiran, they have shared very valuable points, and we are all talking about the leadership involvement, their, how they are contributing, as a driving their DEI, in their company. What I would like to say, DEI, as we know, is an acronym of diversity, equity, and inclusion, right? So these are the three components, three pillars of the DEI, and any of them is missing, then DEI will not be successful. Let's say a lot of time we talk about diverse, the workforce, we bring a lot of Gen X, Gen Y, etc. Then, gender, socio-economic background and all. But suppose we are not able to manage the equity part, or we are not able to manage the I part, then it will be very, very not be successful. So we need to be very mindful that when we are doing any initiatives, we need to keep all these things in mind. And I personally feel that D and E is still we are managing, but I is the piece which is still needs to evolve and which needs to be taken care of. And it is all about creating the sense of belongingness in the organization. I have really heard a lot of people that those who are like we brought in as a diverse workforce, are they feel accepted? Sometimes I feel they don't feel accepted. So that is again a big challenge, that we brought them in the company and they don't feel accepted, right? Are we accepting them? This is again a bigger challenge, right? So as a leadership, it is very important call from them that are they really mindful with these problems or not. So basically I would say that leadership approach needs to change. They need to accept the from the mind the DEI culture, not from the the board the one of the agenda of the tick mark. Otherwise it will not be a successful agenda at all. I can give a good example. Like I worked in most of the time global companies, and my team members used to call me sir, but they will call my boss with the name. I said, why do you call her name, but why do you call me as a sir? I said, sir, it's a culture of India, so I need to call you sir, but for them it is acceptable. And then I realized this is the biggest problem. We need to be very unified culture. Then we brought in a culture of, like no sir, no ma'am, So we did a lot of campaign in the entire organization. We create a lot of posters. We make it very visible that you don't need to call us sirs or ma'am, and across the organization, right? So flat organization, flat hierarchy can come through these cultural change, right? It's very important. Yeah.
I think, yeah. So, Rajiv, very rightly you identified and talked about DE we are doing, I is very important. Correct. And I think that something is very important. So now we move to the next. We talked about DEI and what are the challenges we face while doing this DEI? All Sweta, I would like to start from you.
Okay, so I'm audible, right? Yeah. So, speaking of the challenges in DEI, so I have a question to everybody in the audience. So I'm just going to say a few professions and tell me who do you think first. I'll go with male and female genders only, and for now. So if I say sales field force, which gender comes to your mind, male or female? Okay, a housekeeping person. Maybe both. A receptionist. So, there you go. The challenges, the biases that we have for a profession, which are just so embedded in our minds that, for this profession, this gender or this community will only fit in. And, and that's fine. I can understand because, we come from a capitalistic economy point of view, because our mind is so stuck on profits and quickly getting ahead. If I don't get ahead, so the competition will take over, somebody else will take over. And that's completely understandable from a business head's perspective. So that's where the DEI actually the inclusivity of a DEI program actually becomes a challenge, because we have very, very fixed mindsets, which is also called as unconscious biases. And then, we can go on and on that, what happens right at the table. So the challenge is largely they begin from the mindsets, and the business completely driven towards making profits very quick, and therefore this person or this community or this gender is suitable for this role, so let's just quickly jump on that. And so this kind of circumvents, this is the whole horizon of where DEI initiative actually becomes very challenging to penetrate through.
Okay, so Sweta, right, mindset shift. That's I think very important. Labeling, and very rightly she asked housekeeping, Salesforce, and all that. I think there's a mindset shift which is very much required. And let me tell you, my organization, Indian Air Force. Do you know some of the finest fighter pilot are the female now? And even in Operation Sindoor, there was two female fighters. Those two were on ground, but there were two who had been part of that operation. So that is how that mindset change is very important. But continuing, this is very important topic, biggest challenges. I would like Kiran to add some further insights into it.
I think Shweta has rightly said mindset shift is definitely required. But to do so, I think organizations need to spend time and money as well. And I think the biggest challenge where I see is the DEI teams or culture teams getting that money, that budget. So as I said, if DEI is a part of business strategy, if that is a KPI, that is a goal and objective for a CEO, why would not they put the money there? So getting money is actually a biggest challenge. And also I think, a lot of companies create separate teams, to run DEI initiatives or to run culture. And sometimes it just becomes their accountability, right? That they have to do it. While what is required is they are working in tandem with everybody. Every person who is in the organization is accountable to create a safe space for their peers, for the other person. What doesn't happen is you run sensitization session, okay, that's a tick box exercise. We did XYZ in the whole year to confirm that we are doing something for DEI. But are you really creating a psychological safe space? As I said, are you training your managers? That is the biggest shift, and mind shift does not happen overnight. It takes time, it's a journey. It will take 2 years, 3 years, but you have to just keep pushing it. You have to reinforcing that this is the place where we do not want any kind of conscious or unconscious bias. So that is, it's a long journey, I'll tell you, it's not going to happen overnight in a year or 2 years time as well, because people who come from underrepresented backgrounds, they also need to develop that trust that yes, they can come up, they can open up, they can speak up, they can talk to somebody. And that does not happen easily. And most of our industries, organizations, if I say I come from media, news media, that's not prevalent in other organizations. So people come from there and then telling them, oh no, this is a safe space, you can speak up. It's not going to happen by that. So you have to show them that yes, you are there. And this is not the same, similar organization like you have worked previously. So this is a different space.
So, right, I think Kiran, money and time, both are biggest challenges, and that's how it is responsibility of HR also, if we are driving DI or whoever it is, to take it strongly to the management, and of course creating the KPI, second thing she was talking about. And the important part which Rajiv you also touch upon, creating that psychological safety and space for the people, I think that's something is very, very important. To continue on the same, Rini, if you would like to add something.
Thank you so much. So as I have shared earlier, we have just started. So when we have started, what we did was we did not launch any program, to be very honest. We just straight away went to all our people at the different branches, and we simply asked them how much they are interacting, what is what are the challenges that they face, what is it that they find, not happy about. It actually starts from there, and then slowly you gradually bring them to DEI. So once those are, addressed, and for at least for this segment, where we are dealing, once that is addressed, they feel, they get the trust, right? And once the trust is there, they start sharing more. And to be very honest, same thing we did for our leaders as well, because even the leaders, they are the one who have to drive it down the line. It is not me who's sitting here and heading the function maybe, it is actually them. So we do interact with these people, we give them trainings, we give them a lot of platforms where they can speak, share their challenges, whether, whatever language they are coming from or background they are coming from, they are open to share. Because once we know those, we try to make an inclusive policy, right? It has happened that we have created, and crafted specially for certain locations. Maybe they need it, and the other locations, they have it their way. But then that is what inclusiveness matters. And that is when people, collaborate better, they feel the trust, they feel the belonging, basically, what, Kiran and Anupriya, Shweta, everybody has been saying. So, thank you.
So, Rini, fine, you added trust, openness, and various platform for the leaders to understand what is in it for them and for the organization and for the people. Just to continue, very quick, Rajiv, your thought on it.
So I will go with the basics that create the DEI policies and guidelines, very important. Set the clear goals. I don't think so many organizations do have a clear goals that what is expected out of DEI. We just take some initiatives, okay, bring some male, female, etc. And that's what we do. But we need to have very set goals for the 2-3 years, set up the goal from what to what we want to achieve. So make a very meaningful DEI initiatives. Link it to the DEI strategies as well. Now, a third very important thing, that stuck to my mind, and when Shweta asked a question to all of you that receptionist, what comes in your mind? You all said male or female. She asked any other housekeeping, it came in your mind male and female. Nobody talked beyond that. And if you look at today in the DEI, we are talking about not only gender, we are talking about age, we are talking about male, female, and beyond transgender. We are talking about socio-economic background people, etc., etc. So it is just it's not the male, female, but our mindset is still there with the male, female only, and we need to get beyond that as well. So I think we have a long way to go to make a really impactful DEI journey. And I think it is achievable only when the leadership is involved in creating these strategies, policies. Now we are in the AI-driven world, right? So AI can really help us in tech hiring as well, where the diverse panel members can be there. We can have a very, there's no biasness in hiring, and also that we can make a very impactful, again, do a good hiring from the DI perspective. Identify the unrepresentative groups as well. It is not male, female, who all could be neurodiverse. Maybe they are very good in one area, maybe they are not good in one area, how they can fit in. And then Kiran said that let's create a very psychological, the work space, very important. And for that, we need to be very flexible. Leadership has to be inclusive. They need to have an inclusive mindset, create a steering committee for DEI, drive a lot of, initiatives and a lot of communications around DEI, benchmark your own, strategies and policies, what we can do, etc. Because this is also evolving, area. That's all I think I would say to achieve the DEI.
Thank you, Rajiv. Clear goals. DI is beyond female, male, it is beyond age, geographicals and all that, transgender and all that. That's good. Now, very clear-cut, specific questions I would like to be, we talked about all this. What are that specific as a HR we are doing? And one of the most important role of any HR professional is talent acquisition or hiring or recruitment. So what are that you are doing in your organization to inculcate or incorporate DEI? And I would like to start from Anupriya. If you can share some of your hiring practices, real-time example, how you are doing it, and avoiding the unconscious biases or minimizing the unconscious biases in your hiring process.
Yeah, unconscious bias is very difficult to crack. But I think two things that have worked very well for us, Anil. And of course, a lot of people try different things. I keep talking to people on what works for them, but two things I can vouch for definitely in hiring works. One is an extremely clear JD, right? And if there are any recruiters in the audience, you would feel this pain, right? That most of the time when you're hiring, managers don't know what they're looking for. And it is so important to be very clear what you're looking for. That JD needs to be crystal clear, and not in terms of attributes, but skills, right? I have seen so many JDs where it starts with, we're looking for a dynamic young professional. What the hell is dynamic? It doesn't mean anything, right? And I could say I'm looking for a passionate intern. What does passionate mean? That is where the bias rests. I could walk into an interview, and for me, passionate could be what my passion looks like. If for me, passion means that I will work on 6 projects together, then you could be passionate in your own way, but for me, passion will be that you didn't do this much. These are the little places in the JD itself where bias rests. So we need to make it very specific on when you say dynamic, what exactly are you looking for? What are the behaviors you're looking for? What are the skills you're looking for? If we define it to the T, I believe that you take care of the bias a little bit there, because you very specifically defined what is it that you're looking for. The second thing that's worked for us, and this is now across companies, in fact, not even at Lenskart, when I came here, this is the one thing that we started, was written feedback. You would be surprised how much power there is when you compel people to say, please put down what did you like about the candidate. It's so easy for me, Anil, to just call you and be like, great candidate I met, right? Because maybe they are born and raised in Delhi because I am. And I could have a beer with this person tomorrow. But that's not the way to hire. And if you really compel me, Anupriya, write down 3 things you absolutely loved about this candidate based on the JD that I had sent you. What are those skills? And give me just one example of why did you think this skill is possessed by this by this candidate. I would then start thinking, maybe I did not hear that in the interview. Maybe it was just a halo effect, right? Because they were just speaking so well, I thought that they're great. But when I actually come down to what is it that they've really achieved in their career, maybe I didn't get any data at all. And that could be possible because I didn't do the interview well. But it's also possible that I'm just coming out of it feeling amazing by this candidate. But when I come down to actually what are the outcomes they've driven, maybe I had no meat in the interview. So I think one is super clear JDs with none of these arbitrary attributes, simple skills, and written feedback, for sure.
Yes, Anupriya, I think very rightly, and you reminded me that DEI should not be a kind of a quota also. So what you are talking about is very clear-cut JDs, skills, whatever is required, attributes, not attributes, but skills, and it should be, your JD should be very clear and kind of a probing questions around skills if you ask. I think you can eliminate a lot of things. On the same line, Kiran, your perspective on the same.
Anupriya, I would just would like to continue with what you started, talking about the JDs, and when you take interview feedback from the interviewers, ask them to write down. So we also do the same thing, but what we also ensure is, during the interview process or even during the screening process, there is not one person or just the hiring manager screening resumes. We want another fresh air pair of eyes who are looking at the resumes. So we give all the applications or resumes to 2 people, they shortlist, so we iron out the biases. Then in the interview, we do interviews in a panel, kind of a board, like you have those boards for central government jobs or in, say, armed forces. So we do a panel. A panel should always have 3 people in that, and then 1 person should be outside of the department where somebody is being hired, so that they can look at from neutral perspective, and there should be 1 female at least, because we would want those all unconscious biases that sometimes people get in during interview process. They might just feel, oh, she might not be able to do this job, or he might not be able to do this job because of X disability or because of X accent, coming from rural background. So having different kind of people in a panel who are interviewing a person at the same time, giving their thoughts, gives you a fresh perspective, gives you at least a neutral perspective where you are able to iron out some biases or to some extent. What we also do is after that we ask them to write it down, and I have been in those interview boards, and I'll tell you, sometimes when you meet a person you all feel like, oh wow, that was great. But then after the interviews, when you all three, compare your notes and say, oh, this person answered this on this question, this does not seem right. Or somebody who was not great in coming across, in the interview, when you compare your notes, you find out, oh, this person was touching all the right points. This is the person we want. So this really helps our recruitment to be very fair and consistent and unbiased for, our positions.
Right, Kiran, but I was just thinking of when you talk about it is very good really to have two people, checking resumes and then panel. Of course, it eliminates the biases. But do you do it for all positions? Because at times you have to hire people at the junior levels also. Maybe
we do it for all.
Oh,
we
great.
do it for all because that's a fair recruitment practice that we have across. We do it for even for the topmost senior position. We do it for the lowest as well. And I would also like to add another recruitment practice that we shared. 5 years ago, we actually realized that, caste representation is very low in news industry. No news media houses, news houses, they talk about bringing that caste diversity in their newsrooms. So who is telling their stories? Somebody not coming from that caste is telling about their stories. Are those stories fair? Can they even understand the lived experiences of those people? So we really wanted to tap on it, so that we brought that in our business strategy, that we have to hire people, X percentage of people coming from underrepresented castes. And finding those people with the same talent is not easy, by the way, because these people are mainly in tier 2, tier 3 or rural areas. So we started outreaching. We started a traineeship program where we used to give a traineeship contract to people coming from these backgrounds for a year. We will train them. We will build that pool. Tomorrow, wherever there is a position, we would like to bring them in. This is something that we did.
Okay.
That is another way of creating diversity in your
Right, Kiran, thank you. I think we all talk about psychological space, creating a space for employee where they can speak, they can talk about. If anyone can pick this and talk about what actually you are doing in organization for the people. So whoever, this is open round now.
Okay, so about psychological safety. So, at Shubham.
And excuse me, Sweta, only 1 minute we have to complete.
Okay, sure. Woman of few words. So, at Shubham, it's very important for us that we have diverse people joining us, because we have like 180 branches all over India, and we have about 4,000 employees, and we have to make sure that everybody feels part of the headquarters, because they are all segmented out there in the branches. So there's just so many initiatives, frankly, we do. When I just speak about learning and development, we do very centered programs, let's say ranging from language prone programs, which are customized for them, for their region, for women development programs. Every month we are doing some program for women development. There's just so much of inclusivity of even language awareness that we do, that how to speak to different segments, how to be presentable to different segments within the organization. So inclusivity of even the language usage, interpersonal skills.
Thank you. 1 minute, because we need to give 8 to 10 minutes to the
all right,
participants.
I'll make it very quick. So for us, we have actually done a lot of, started with trainings. Basically, in our industry, this was not happening. And this was L&D has basically, played a very vital role for us. So once we started giving trainings to our chauffeurs, that is when they felt, wow, what is this? And, because these guys, they have never been, gone to a proper school or maybe, colleges. So they hardly, got to know what training means. So for them, they feel so much overwhelmed that, people have trainers have come to them and, specially told them how they can groom themselves or maybe, conduct themselves or drive, defensive driving training and all that stuff started happening. So the response was quite great. Further to it, what we did, we went to the next level once the training was happening. Beyond that, we have also reached out to their, women at their home, and we have invited them to, be a part of the community that is eco-mobility. We invited them to our office, and we had a very good gathering where we have also invited their kids to know what their, father is doing, their husband is doing. So it's something which is beyond, their work that they do, and they feel more connected and they feel belonged. So that is something which we have done, and we like to
Yeah.
carry it forward, maybe more inclusive. Yeah.
I think
Thank you.
time का भी थोड़ा shortage है. Kiran, very quick,
Just
1 minute.
60 seconds, okay?
60 seconds.
So I will just tell you about, whatever the other people are doing, we also do. But quick standouts for me have been staff networks. We have built staff networks run by the employees, for the employees. We have for women, we have for diverse background people, we have for our regional staff because they feel, quite isolated from the headquarters, which is in Delhi. We have for sustainability as well. I think these have been really successful for us, and there have been times where people from staff network have come to me and told me, oh, this person is suffering with X thing, right? Or a mental disorder or a depression, or say, talking about that this person feels intimidated by their manager, so you have to do something. So we have created those safe spaces. If a person cannot talk to their managers, they cannot talk to HR, at least they have that safe space where they can go and talk about anything and everything. Also, I would like to talk about our one initiative we started in 2020, when we were working a lot on DEI initiatives. We call it My Story. So we started it where we invite one person from our organization only to come and talk about their story. And I'll tell you, the first person who started it was a manager who came out as a gay person. And that just opened the Pandora box. People felt that this is a safe space where they can tell their stories. They can tell who they are. And after that, I have got people who came from tribal regions, telling about their whole story of how they got education, what the struggles they had. And that is a real sensitization I felt, because when people feel and people know that I am surrounded by people like that, I have to behave in a different way. I have to be more conscious. I have to be self-aware. And that is such a successful project for us. It is still running. Every month, one of our employees come in and tell about their stories that have been just brilliant.
So good, great real-time examples. Rajiv, quickly, if you want to add, 60 seconds.
Yeah. So when I'm talking about the neutral, culture is very important, and this is what I'm looking at, because I have a global, team where every country has their own culture, etc. So we focus on the neutral culture so that no one feels offended or no one has any issues while dealing with the cross-cultural or cross-countries people. Second is a no sir, no ma'am campaign we initiated in the past, and that worked well because then there's no hierarchy and they feel equated and there's no biasness between the two managers and then the subordinates. Third, that is that when we look at the DI, we should also look at the each functions, each project team, etc. So that everywhere there should be a representation of under kind of privileged people as well. So I was very conscious with the fact that it is not focused only in one area, one department. It should be across the functions and department. It was one of our KPI to ensure that this is maintained.
Very good. Thank you. I think thank you very much, all panelists. Now I open it to the colleagues, HR colleagues. I never say audience. Actually, we are all HR colleagues. So, ma'am, yes, you wanted to speak something.
Hi, I'm Pooja. I wanted to share the perspective, right? And sorry if I interrupted in middle. So we have got a lot of insights, right?
खड़े होके बोलिए ना, सभी लोगों को सुनेगा.
Of course. So we have got a lot of insight on DEI, right? But I would say that inclusion is something which needs a lot of work and the change in the real sense. So my call out at that point was that I would differ when it comes to setting the matrices on DE, right, to have KPIs around, X many women to be promoted or hired. And I see that a lot of organizations have done that, right? Personally, with more than 20 years of experience in the corporate, I think it's a skill that we all should really focus on. And we hear it, but to come into play is the change that will really, make a difference on the ground. Why to have a KPI? And in the process, in my friend circle with my male colleagues, I've seen them suffering. There are times when we have hiring open, right? And then they reach out to say that I applied for it, but it's a position for a women leader. I have the skill, but I'm not able to make it. Not in my immediate organization, but that's the other side of it. When, usually when we talk about DEI, it's about the women or a specific gender, but we have to bring the change to make it more inclusive is what I truly feel is the need all across.
Very true. It should not become another quota, as I told you. DEI should not become
no
a quota.
quotas for women.
See, again, I will agree with Kiran here, and I have a mentor. He's Mr. Rajiv Chhabra, CEO of MG Motors India. And as part of their business school, it was also drilled into the KPI. They wanted to have 50% women in an automobile manufacturing company. Unheard. We have Maruti guys here. They can ask the number. It is unheard. Today they have 42% women. It was the same plant which belonged to another international automobile company. They had no woman. It's a plant in Vadodara, Ahmedabad. Now what happened was, second part, because you have it as a business school, like Kiran said, also resources have to be provided. So what they did was, they recruited the local girls, brought them to the facility, made a hostel for them, provided them the transportation, provided them the skills. They are at 42%, aiming for 50, and I'm 100% sure it will happen because it is one of the 4 pillars of their corporate goals. So sometimes we have to push our way.
Thank you, your perspective. And any questions, anything you want to? I think now it should be any questions to any panelists, I think.
For leaders, those who are sitting there, I'll be looking for a suggestion. So as an HR, when we go to the business or the leaders or CEO, we talk about a lot of things, DEI, that we want to do this, we want to do that. But especially when we talk to the CEOs, we as an HR gets into a pressure that certain things cannot be done by certain set of people. So you really cannot talk about DEI for this project, for this segment, or for this unit. So what should we do as an HR?
I think anybody wants to answer this? Otherwise, my favorite question, this when HR become helpless, I always there to help them. Please meet me after this.
I want to answer this question that, because the unconscious bias is there, right? It's okay because you say, okay, ye community yahi karegi, ye gender yahi karega, ye segment demographic yahi karega. Like you are completely set on your mind there. So, I'll create a parallel scenario and maybe you can give it back to them also. Let's say, your company wants to go to an unknown country, right? And let's say, randomly saying maybe Philippines or, let's say that, right? So now, in order to enter that market of a different country, who would they consult in their own board? Will they consult a CFO, a CTO, a CBO, a COO, or CHRO, CIO? Who will they consult? Or will they consult everyone?
Sweta.
So likely the answer is all. They're going to consult everyone, right?
आपका नाम क्या है?
My name is Santosh Sharma.
Santosh
I'm
Sharma.
from Payal Group.
Yes, आपने बहुत अच्छा क्वेश्चन पूछा. I think your question was beyond all this. You are telling, and I feel that kind of a helplessness which most of the HR people have, is that how you go and talk about DEI to CEO and all that. For doing that, first HR needs to understand the business, in whichever business you are, create your own value chain, like, how can first create and show it with your data analytics and all that. Yes, today I was talking in my board and company has done 5.7 crore. I said HR has provided 96% of manpower deployment. So huge applause for HR. So when you understand the business, you start contributing and even marketing it up to certain extent, then you can talk to your CEO or whoever it is, the C-suite people about initiatives.
Normally, I've seen other people to, begging in front of CEOs. In my career, I have not been in that situation.
Very good. आपके लिए तालियां हो जाए एक बार.
Second position, but I'm holding all the meetings with CEOs or CFOs, asking them to do certain things with all the logics, and I've been getting it done.
But
Very good. So why you are not able to do DEI?
One quick thing actually, I do agree with Santosh. I know that we're finding a light moment in all of this, but he's absolutely right. And I think a little bit of empathy for the business leaders as well. This unconscious bias, where is it coming from? It's coming from the fact that they're looking for predictable business outcomes. We're all running companies at the end of the day, right?
Right.
So it's coming from the fact that I know I have tested it, it works with this community, let's just go with it. So if we want to change that narrative, we have to own business outcomes. I absolutely agree with Anil. Unless you're an actual business partner, not just an HRBP, but like an actual business partner, and you say, look, you know what, I'll take a punt on this community, but I believe that we will get the business outcome still. And if you're willing to have a skin in the game and own that outcome, I doubt somebody will say, no, I will not even let you do that.
That's what
But
I've been doing it from last 5 years. I'm pushing them very hard, and they don't have answer for it.
No,
You don't
very
have
good.
to push so hard.
We'll
frankly.
continue
Just-
that. I think time
you
is.
have to, exactly. See, you don't have to really push so hard.
Sweta, suno na. We are here. We will discuss and share this. Let us not make a debate. So I think.
But that's a heartfelt question.
Any other question?
I can add a couple of lines here.
Let's have some more questions. Yeah. कोई और questions इसके अलावा? नहीं तो फिर हम ऐड कर देंगे उसी में. चलो आप ऐड करिए.
What I want to add here is that this is a very challenging statement that leadership do not accept कि कहीं male है, female है, it will not work and all. So इसमें सबसे important है I need to be first convinced that whether it is a right approach or not. Second ये है कि you need to have a good DI strategy, to manage the entire, underprivileged people. It's not only male, female. You have seen the example of the lifestyle पे जाओगे तो you will find a lot of people deaf and dumb, but they handle the reception, right? So it is very that these people cannot do a lot of job, but they can do this job beautifully. So you need to have a good strategy. Who will fit in where? आप यहाँ पे KFC में भी जाएंगे तो lot of people they can't write listen something, they will give you a thing, they will write a mobile, but they do their job. I'm sure they cannot do a lot of job. I know one person, she's a very good friend of mine. She is visually impaired, and I did not know for 2 months when I did not meet her, and she is doing a very beautiful job in L&D in Gale. So I know that some work she cannot do, but some work she can do very beautifully. So you need to have a strategy, and that you need to convince your CEO. It's not only the male, female, it's the strategy towards the DEI and how you can make it successful as overall inclusive culture.
And let me tell you, before concluding, nowadays there are a lot of chances. Many of you can be in a boardroom, be in a business partner. There are many CHROs who are actually in business. But for that, in our HR के साथ साथ अपना business acumen जितना हम अच्छा कर लेंगे, बोलते हैं ना सोने पे सुहागा है. So I think times is up, and thank you very much all panelists. And DEI is not only about compliances. I think it is beyond. And thank you very much sharing your insight and valuable input. Thank you very much.
Everyone, let's give them a huge round of applause. Thank you for such an informative yet interactive session. Please be with us on the dais for another couple of minutes. And may I invite Mr. Satish Mohapatra, EVP HR Maruti Suzuki India Limited. Sir, please join us and present a small token of appreciation to the entire panel for their precious time they have given us here, and they have given us such an interactive session. So starting with obviously our moderator, Mr. Anil Tyagi.